Big news coming out today in regards to one Anthony Richardson. We talk about all that and more on today's episode of the No Horsing Around podcast. Welcome back to the No Horsing Around podcast. As always, I am one of two dudes talking Colts. I'm one of your hosts, Stephen Burton. And on today's episode, I kind of had to do like a little last minute tweak here. I was getting ready to record. I had a video kind of all planned out and kind of had to do a little bit of a pivot. Obviously, the topic of conversation is Anthony Richardson. And you guys can even see, like, I even got my new Anthony Richardson jersey in the mail, like, recently. So I was kind of bummed. But Sunday news broke. We talked a little bit about it in Instant Reaction. Just like kind of a kick to the what's the word I want to use? A kick to the beanbags, right? And it just hurts. You wake up on Sunday morning and you hear the news that it's looking like it is very possible that Anthony Richardson is going to get season-ending shoulder surgery for his AC joint sprain. And so you kind of sit and, like, I think I even tweeted out, I was like, hey, let's wait till we hear from more of the local people, because that was, I believe, Ian Rappaport who dropped that news. So then today, we're listening and everyone's kind of watching and, hey, we're going to get some new news. Shane Steichen comes out today and kind of says the same thing. Hey, we're still evaluating everything. Okay, so what does that mean? We're still evaluating everything in the best long-term health of Anthony. Okay, so we still don't really know much. We know he's on IR. We know he's going to miss a minimum of 4 games. So my thought for a video and for an episode for you guys was I was actually going to discuss kind of the due diligence. I'm still going to talk about this. The due diligence that the Colts are kind of going through in this process. They are being very diligent. They are, from what reports have said, sought out numerous consultations, numerous opinions. We're not talking like a second and third opinion. I think we've heard like fourth and fifth. Hey, what's the best option to do this? Is it rehab and him come back? Is it surgery? Like, there's all these different things. And so I think a lot of this, and no one will say it because it's this weird, we don't want to talk about it. A lot of it, I think, has to do with Andrew Luck and how that overall situation was handled. We all know Andrew Luck injured his shoulder. I think it was in 2015. He said he elected, but I think it was a team decision to not have surgery after the season with that and to rehab it. Obviously, he came back. He re-injured it in 2016. And then so you and then the snowboard and all those things, but you put it off and it got worse. And what could have affected one season turned to 2. And the Colts, I think, are trying their best to avoid that a second go around. We're looked at as Colts fans, and the Colts in general are looked upon very negatively for what happened with Andrew Luck. You didn't address the O-line. He got battered, beaten. He kept trying to come back. He was in pain. He couldn't figure out the shoulder. I don't think anybody who will tell you they forced him back on the field early, but he wanted to be back on the field. You listened to him. He got back on the field. He didn't do these things. And so I think they're being really cautious when it comes to Anthony Richardson. Thus, the idea is Andrew Luck still haunting them to this day a little bit in regards to the decisions they're making. Is it making them overly cautious? Is it making them the right amount of cautious? I definitely want to hear from you guys when it comes to that, right? So then that goes to what Steichen said, and I think you pick apart it a little bit more, is we're going to do what's in the best long-term health. I'm not saying, I want to play both sides of this argument. I asked on Twitter tonight, someone explained to me, because it's something I heard on Pat McAfee, Adam Schefter talking, strains and sprains don't generally lead to surgery. So if someone could explain to me why that was the case, why a surgery would be necessary. Adam Schefter brought it up today. Initially it was a grade 3 They got the MRI, they got the X-ray. X-rays were negative, and they actually came back and said that it looked better. It could have been like possibly a sprain two, a level 2 sprain. So why the surgery, right? That goes back to the cautiousness, obviously, of are they being really cautious? But I put the question out on Twitter or on X and asked kind of what would drive a surgery, and I got some great answers. Like I got some fantastic answers. No one being because it's there's no stupid questions. I don't have all the answers, you guys. Believe it or not, when I say things like that, and it really was good. Like rest in peace, Wheat Chloe, right? A strain means torn ligaments. A grade 3 strain requires surgery 50% of the time. Um, Hunter, at Hunter Caleb 98 on X. For what I've read, a grade 3 AC sprain means there's some damage tearing of the ligaments and the joint is misaligned. Colts fan Cole, who I love Colts. If you don't follow him, go follow him at Colts fan Cole on X. Had the same injury, 3-degree AC joint separation means ligaments tear. It can heal with time instead of surgery, but personally, my non-surgery choice caused my shoulder to never be the same. If my separation was a 1/4 inch lower, the surgery would have been mandatory. James Smith, strains are all tears. Grades are to what extent? Stats Matt threw it back at me. Stafford had the same injury his second season. 3rd degree is tearing of ligaments and messing the joint itself up. Got to do some repair. Also stabilizes it more for the future injury. Heard something today that players who have AC injuries are more susceptible to get another one. Evan at Colts IU. The last part of your statement and is key. Every time he has a sprain on the right shoulder, it weakens the ligaments. This is the second one that we know of, therefore making surgery a good decision. Hayden Wheatley chimed in. I thought this was really interesting. I heard the surgery is where they put in a metal like brace around the ligaments, and it becomes pretty much impossible to re-injure it. So a lot of good. And then just now, literally as I'm recording this, John Stands with WGA chimes in, says strains are tears. So I mean, it was something that I sit there and I go, I mean, you don't really tend to think of strains requiring surgery. So are they being overly cautious with that? And then kind of the final thing is sometimes surgery is not the best option. Surgery is still surgery. Surgery is cutting your body open and repairing it. And sometimes surgeries can go wrong, and sometimes they're not the best option. Roll forward now to right before I get ready to record this episode. We get more breaking news from Stephen Holder, who had a conversation with Jim Irsay, which is what Stephen tends to do now, which is fantastic for us as fans. And Irsay said it's very probable that he's going to go ahead and elect to have the season-ending surgery. That decision could come in the next couple of days, within the next week. But Stephen says, and as it says on the thumbnail, Stephen points out that they are still actively talking to doctors all over about the best course of treatment. So they are doing their due diligence. I do believe so much of what they're doing has to do with what they feel like they probably didn't do. Whether they did or they didn't, what they didn't feel they did with Andrew Luck that caused their franchise signal caller to hang it up because of injuries. They don't want to see it again. As much as it's a kick in the nuts and just like a punch in the stomach to have him be gone for the season, long term, it's the correct decision. As much as I want to see him come back and play this season, you got to also look at it long term. So what do you guys think? Do you think it's the right decision? Do you think they should rehab? Are you okay with it? Are you okay with the idea that he's not going to play again this season, that we're going to have to wait till 2024 now to see him play again? Drop it in the comments. Let me know. Let me know your thoughts, your feelings on this whole situation. If you haven't yet, join the family like we always talk about. Ding the bell, hit subscribe, all those fantastic things. And until next time, I say it all the time. I love you. I know Zach loves you. AR loves you too. We're out.